For Adrian Sabaja, the group QTPOC, queer and trans people of color, gives him a sense of acceptance on campus as a trans male student of color.
I could just be myself. And, I don't have to be conscious of how I sit or, how I walk like I normally do or how I talk or, what I say. And I don't have to be conscious of, how masculine I'm presenting because people will just accept me.
As one of two student leaders in QTPOC, Adrian leads workshops, pro-queer events, and works with queer allied groups to help students feel accepted at Loyola.
The more I considered it, the more I realized that I didn't want my traumas to become the trauma of other people. I didn't want my bad experiences at Loyola to define the lives of others because really my passion is in helping others.
As a part of Q Initiatives, a set of student-led programs directed by Student Diversity and Multicultural Affairs, QTPOC builds community for queer students of color.
What we try to do is we try to create safe spaces for queer students and for allies who may have questions in certain spaces to come forth and to basically be in community.
Program Coordinator James Thomas says the program comes in response to lack of diversity and inclusion in queer spaces on campus.
A lot of our queer and trans people of color on campus were not visible in a lot of queer and trans spaces.
We're trying to focus on what it is to be a queer trans person of color rather than, just focusing on what it is to be queer and what it is to be a person of color.
While Loyola does not statistically track student sexual orientation, students like Adrian are sharing resources and reaching out on campus to raise awareness and help more people.
I think the end goal is ultimately getting people to that point where they can say, I'm comfortable, at least somewhat, in my own skin. I remember my friends sitting there and being like, hey, I'm here for you. And the most I can do for people now is give them these resources and say, hey, I'm here for you too. And as a trans person, I know what you're going through.
QTPOC will host its annual two-day event, Q Retreat, with other SDMA LGBTQIA groups this spring. Solomon Collins, Loyola News, Chicago.
When I came to Loyola, I thought that, my lesbian identity, if anything, might be a nuisance with housing and with roommates and stuff. And I didn't